Monday, the 27th of January 2025, and this evening's show we purr over yet another sublime away performance as the Pool put Exeter to the sword at St James's Park over the weekend to record our 6th win on the road this season, and unbelievably register our first win in 7 games and of this calendar year. We also look ahead tomorrow evening as Blackpool travel to Lincoln City, and we catch up on the latest news, including a fans forum. I'm John Aspinall, and this is Had's podcast match reaction show. Exeter City 1, Blackpool and 3. And relax. Multiple audio gremlins at the start. We've just about overcome them even. Mainly thanks to our technician. He's been away for a while, but he keeps Blackpool 6th running with his IT, his equipment, his electrical genius, Mr. Mitch, back on the pod for what seems like an eternity. Good to have you back, mate.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Nicholas Smith in a Tim Fielding style crypt.
Yes, I'm just trying to adjust the lighting because it is a little bit dark, but I don't want to blind myself at the same time. So, darkness it is.
And Mr. Tim Pegleg Fielding, how's the recovery going, Tim?
Not very well. I went to the hospital on Thursday for a checkup, expecting to get the pot off. I got an absolute bollocking for the fact that it hadn't improved because I've been walking on it, but I shouldn't have been doing. So I'm now actually officially working from home and not going out, which is a bit frustrating, to say the least, because I don't sit still very well at all. So there we go. So I've had to buy some gym equipment so I can do a little bit because I can't get out, and I'm just sat in the kitchen working because I can't get in the office because my daughter works in it. So
you should do some live workouts and post them on YouTube and TikTok, Tim.
I couldn't I? Yeah. Broken leg workout.
Is there a gag in there with a solicitor working out? No, I can't think of any. Nick, you think of one before we come to the first segment?
He'll be putting a claim in.
You can't sue yourself, though. That's the problem. If I could, I would.
Right, let's get cracking. Exeter 1, Blackpool 3. Who saw that coming, eh? Let's have a look at the lineup before we get going. Starting 11. Tyra, now an enforced change at centre-half. Elkin Bagot, whatever you want to call him, coming in for the injured Matt Pennington, with Ollie Casey, the season stalwart partner, centre-half. Extraordinary centre-half. Martin Afire. What's his first name? I can't pronounce it. At right back. Jimmy Husband, left back. Across the middle, CJ Carey. Sonny Carey, Mitch, one for you. Albie Morgan, Rob Apt, Tom Bloxham, and Ash Fletcher up front. So, Mitch, we'll come to you first. Sonny Carey back in the fold. What was your thoughts on that? And the team in general?
If I live up to my character, I'd say I was delighted to see Sonny in there, and I always am. But if I'm honest, I thought, because it does look a bit of a weak midfield, Carey and Morgan. Neither of them are. I know Morgan's a proper terrier, but he's not a big lad. So I thought, okay, this will be interesting. I've had a bit of trepidation about it. For the rest of the team, it was pretty much as expected. Obviously, Bagot had come back in, but I mean, we knew that was happening, and he's looked a good player when he's played before. So the rest of it was expected, but Noley Evans was a concern.
Tim, Tom Bloxham starting up as one of the front two. Did you have any concerns about that at all? And Ash Fletcher?
Not in the least. I mean, his debut performance, I think, instilled enough confidence in the fan base that he was a exciting signing. I couldn't see Steve Bruce doing anything else other than starting him, to be honest. I don't think it wasn't even for debate, was it? I mean, you'd actually think he was off his head if you didn't start him. So, yeah, I mean, just go back to what Mitch said. I was surprised about Evans. I hadn't heard anything about an injury or anything. Has anybody actually said anything as to why
he had a knock?
Yeah, I think was it a
games
calf or something?
Maybe a rest will do him good, actually.
Yeah.
Well, in statistical terms, John, funny you should talk about that, but Evans is the player who's played the most minutes for us by a reasonable margin. Evans, Casey, and who's the other one? Apter, the leading players, and Evans he's played about an hour more than anyone else.
Which, Nick, is quite incredible considering his injury record before joining us.
Yeah, and like I can't remember when Tim who said it. The rest might have done him, might do him good because he has played so much football. And he has looked a little bit, by his high standards in recent games, a little bit off it at times. I was similar to Mitch when I saw the lineup. I was a bit concerned about the centre of the park and are we going to get overrun without Evans in there? And obviously there's no Norburn now either. So I was a little bit concerned. The rest of it, I think, pretty much picks itself for who we've got available. So, happy enough with it for what Steve Bruce had to select.
So when the games started, Nick, how do you think the first 10, 15 minutes has gone for Blackpool? I've just put in my notes, end-to-end stuff for first hour.
Yeah, for the start of the game, I thought we tried to get on the front foot, got the ball forward. It was interesting that they made a tactical change after about 15 minutes or so, because clearly their manager could see we were getting quite a bit of joy down the wings, and he wanted to try and counter that, so change things around a bit. But thankfully for us, it didn't hinder us.
Tim, I listened to Stephen Caldwell interview afterwards. I don't know if he mentioned it was a hamstring injury. One thing I did notice, obviously there's no Gricey on here this evening. Gricey's been going off his head recently about keepers going down injured and them having a conference on the pitch. I think that was a case again when the Exeter player's gone down and they've made a change. So it's that thing that is creeping into football, and now Gricey's pointed it out. I seem to notice it more as well. I think
I think one does it and gets away with it. Everybody else is going to adopt the same mantra, aren't they? That if that stops the game straight away and allows us to do what we need to do, then we're going to do it. And the rest, they're clearly under instruction, aren't they? If it's the keeper that goes down, you've got to stop the game straight away. So that's clearly filtering through as a tactic now. How the authorities are going to deal with it remains to be seen, but I don't like it. It's quite frustrating. We've had it with the home game where it's done in front of you, and it's so blatantly obvious that there's no injury, there's no foul. But I almost think the refs' hands are probably tied, to be fair.
Mitch, come to you then. In the build-up to our goal, obviously Tom Bloxham scored it, but great move from was it a fire in the build-up?
Yeah.
Well, it was CJ who scored it, John.
Well, CJ scored it, but a fire behaving, bringing the ball out like a rugby player almost. Got a player hanging off him, and the fair play to the ref for playing their advantage.
Yes, he was a bit like Uncle Ellery. No, not Ellery. That's Ellery Hanley, isn't it? That's a completely different player. Uncle Martin. Yeah. We'll see if we can get the Ellery Hanley's nephew and Henderson Gill and Andy Gregory and all that. No, it was very good play, because it would have been very easy for him to just sort of throw himself on the floor and get the free kick. That's something that a lot of players do, is, if there's any chance of free kick, they'll take it. But he didn't. He kept fighting, and he just sort of scuffed it through, didn't he, to Morgan. Credit to the ref for letting play go. I mean, the ref read the play very well. The ref read the play like a midfielder with some vision, because he could see what could happen. And then Morgan, beautiful first time ball, really, really quality pass on to CJ, who took it really well. And I'm sure I can't have been alone in the fan bases when CJ's running through and you think, oh, he's got too long to think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to, what's he going to do? Hit the corner flag. But he didn't. He took it really well, brought it in, drew the keeper, and then just slipped it home. Really nice finish. And it was a really, really nice goal. And we've sort of glossed over the fact that we hit the post before we scored. Fletcher had 2 really, really good chances, one of which was the CJ's ball across that he didn't go for. He just sort of watched it past. And the other one it was about the first 40 seconds where it seemed to come to him with what looked like a pretty good chance to head it, and it just sort of hit him on the top of the head and bounced over. And I before we scored, I was thinking, oh, we've had one of those starts where we've made the chances, we've not scored. They're going to get a patch in the game. They're going to score a goal. And it was great when we turned around and actually, after missing a few chances, we then got that goal, which was, I think, we needed and settled us down.
Nick, it was a good start, but Tom Bloxham has really flourished in his first 2 games, and what a goal to open his account for Blackpool. Talk us through it.
I mean, great strength down the right. I think their defenders kind of misjudged it a little bit, but not to take anything away from Tom Bloxham, because he still had a hell of a lot to do when he picked the ball up. And he beats his defender, and then you're thinking, right, what's he going to do with the keeper? Just sold him a bag of chips. And then you're thinking, oh, what's he going to do now? There's defenders on the line. And you're thinking, has he taken a touch too many? Just put it in the net. And he's just so calm, and again, kind of sold the defender and then just knocks it in. Absolutely fantastic goal. If that's scored in the Premier League, I think I said it in the chat, if that's Mo Salah who scores goals like that, it's getting repeated again and again and again on Match of the Day. And it was absolutely fantastic. And it's great that we've got a player who's got that in his locker. I mean, we saw it for Shrewsbury when they played at our place, that how good he was down that right-hand side. And we saw everything of that again on Saturday. And it's just his strength as well, his physicality, the way he shrugs players off. And I think he knew what he wanted to do as soon as he got the ball. And then a celebration to match it as well. What a backflip or whatever it was he kind of did. And just going back to what Mitch said about those 2 chances we had beforehand. You are wondering, is it going to? We've seen it so many times where you have chances, don't put them away, and then the inevitable happens. And I was getting a bit frustrated with Fletcher, like Mitch said there, particularly the second one where. Just that's the thing for me. Really good build-up play from him, again, outside the box, and we'll come on to talk about his goal. But you just want him to fling himself at something, have a bit of commitment and a bit of belief, because it literally just needed to touch any part of his body that from that ball from CJ, and it's in the back of the net. But going back to Bloxham, I think we've got a hell of a player on our hands, and the rumours of what we paid for him are to be believed, then I think we've got a bit of a steal.
Do you know what I said last week, didn't I? I thought a little bit last week Bloxham played within himself, perhaps because debut, just finding his feet. I think we saw on Saturday that he's overcome that. If there was any trepidation, he's overcome that, because to do what he did in that scenario, and as David Jenkins has mentioned, the way that he rolls the ball, to do that when you are running at a reasonable pace, which he was still, it shows that that's a player on top of his game who's confident in himself. And you had Morgan's reaction, didn't you, as well, which comes on the end of the replay, where he just goes, "Oh my God, how good was that?" And it's it'll give the whole team a fillip, won't it, to have a player like that who is young, on top of his game, and just maybe going to give us that little bit. It's early days, isn't it? He's played less than 2 full games of football. But if you're comparing him in isolation against Joseph at the moment, then I think we've got a better player than we've let go, and that's a bit of a tall order, I think, to be able to say that that's what we've potentially got, because he looks at the moment incredible. I mean, we've got a character that shows we say can be hit brilliant one week and then poor the other, but 6'5". I was looking at him in Fletcher again on Saturday, and I was listening to the Exeter commentary, and they were eulogising about O'Fire, saying why the bloody hell do keep going down the left, because he's just making mincemeat of our left winger every time he gets the ball, as he did for the goal. And they were talking about the size of the forwards and the strength of them, and it's quite interesting when you always listen to the opposition commentary, because you get slightly less biased view, and if they are talking you up, it's because you're playing really, really well. And once we found our feet on Saturday, we certainly did, and Bloxham is just different gravy at the moment. Let's hope he keeps it up.
The only word of warning I've got is that the last player that we signed, that I was convinced we'd got an absolute, where you feel like this sort of the rules of the universe have gone wrong a bit, and you've actually got a world-class player somehow. The last player that I was convinced was the case was CJ when we first signed him, and I would have said he was Ronaldo, he was all these things on those first couple of friendlies when he notched a couple of goals in those friendlies, and he just looked absolutely electric. And that's my only thing. I want to dive in head first in saying Bloxham just looks incredible, but I've just got in the back of my mind that was my first impression of CJ. So just to temper the excitement.
Shall I remove him from the studio? We don't need
think CJ ever quite finished like that on Saturday.
But he did, though, because if you remember very early on, I think it might have been the Liverpool game, he cut onto one in the box.
It was a feature.
Inside, absolutely rattled it home. It was unstoppable. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? How have we got him for whatever we paid for him, 90 grand? This is the signing of the decade. And then, he's been CJ ever since.
He CJ'd it. He's even got his own description of a goal finish, hasn't he? Bloxham hasn't got that. Therefore, CJ greater than Bloxham.
He is.
Watch that at yours, Tim, that Liverpool game. I remember.
Yeah. Good first half, wasn't it?
Yeah. We were all cock a hoop, weren't we? And it all went horribly wrong. Mitch, I've penned in my notes, you being a wordsmith, you may scold me for using the term bulldozed 3 times. A Fire bulldozed his way through for the first. Bloxham bulldozed his way-ish when scoring his goal, and he certainly bulldozed his way through receiving that bad pass from the Exeter player. Was it from a throw? And like a bull in a china shop, got down the right, and who did he play in? Fletch to finish.
Yes.
He made it look easy, Fletch. Not as easy as it... Those moving balls across, they're hard to deal with, but Fletch finished it with aplomb.
Well, starting with the bulldozing, I mean, I think it's testament to what Bruce has done to us in the sense that we don't look a soft touch anymore. We look physically strong. We look sort of man for man up for the battle with our opponent. And all of those goals had like you say, had a certain amount of strength to them, and I think that must be what they're working on in coaching, in training, as much as passing triangles and technique and shape and stuff is those one-to-one battles, because we have definitely improved in that. Bloxham did really well again. Got away. He's got a decent turn of pace as well. Got into the space. Really nice ball across. And then great finish from Fletcher. And he's one of them anywhere. The more time he's got, or the easier it is, the less you fancy him. But you always do fancy. I swear he's going to score some outrageous goal for us at some point. He's going to score a 45-yard first-time volley, back to goal, blind, and everyone's just going to go, "Oh my God, how's he done that?" And then he'll walk into the post and fall over instead of scoring when it looks nailed on. It was a really nice finish, and actually credit to him because he's obviously not had. He's in better form than he was, and he's playing a lot better than he was. But he's not had the easiest start to his career. He's not had the easiest last 3-4 years in terms of goal scoring. Full stop. You know, we joke about his goal scoring record. He'll be more aware of it than anybody else. The fact that he's scored twice as many goals this year than he scored in I think the last 4 seasons or something.
4 goals,
like that.
3 assists, Mitch. So,
yeah. He's contributing, but you miss a couple of chances. Bruce had gone mad on the touchline when he missed those chances. He must be thinking, oh, God, his head going. And I think it's a really good sign. And never mind, I always go back to Armand, who I was incredibly fond of. And Armand used to miss terribly. You know, he used to miss some ridiculously easy chances, but it was like he didn't care. He just got up, took the next one. And it was really nice to see Fletcher finish that and actually get over those misses and score a goal, because no striker's going to score every one. Fletcher's certainly never going to score every one, but you've just got to, you know, that was that, and one comes along, take it, and he did. So fair play.
I tell you what I also liked, and you always, John will resonate with this. When you're coaching kids, you talk about playing with your head up and watching what's about you. And I thought the way Bloxham did that in the build up, it was noticeable. Once I think he had 2 or 3 looks about where Fletcher was, and he played the blind ball across, but it wasn't just playing it into space. He put it right into his path, and he knew where it was going, and he was running at pace while looking for the right time to do it. So again, you know, he's had a few credits already in this pod today, and that's another one for me that he's, you know, again, he's not got his head down looking at where the ball and his feet are. He's looking for where his teammates are.
I think as well, just building on that, I thought that first half, generally the attacking movement overall was excellent. You know, the Bloxham would pick it up, cut inside, Apter would go outside, or Bloxham would go outside, Apter would come inside. Fletcher was coming deep. One of the goals, Fletcher dragged sort of his man way out of position. CJ was sort of getting in that little hole that was opening up as Bloxham was pulling out one way, and then Fletcher was sort of going the other, and CJ was coming round. Carey and Morgan both were coming forward into the space. And what it was really nice to see after, you know, we talked a lot last year about how rigid we were when we attacked, how it looked like we were sort of doing training ground moves when we went forward. And if they didn't work, then we didn't know what to do. There was a freedom to the way we played going forward in that game. And it was probably helped by, to some extent, I mean, it's a sort of slightly controversial opinion, but it was probably helped to some extent by Evans, who's a little bit more static, not being in the team, and having 2 midfielders who will carry the ball, and then players being able to break off those players carrying the ball through the middle. And just generally, we looked for 45 minutes. I thought we looked really, really fluid. And what's the word? Not improvisational, but creative, you know, thinking on the spot and thinking about the moment and playing the moment, which was lovely to see.
It's an interesting point about Evans, actually.
That's what I was putting my hand up, John, because I was going to say exactly the same thing that Mitch said. I think it kind of, you know, with Carey, he was trying to get forward and get on the ball.
More dynamic, Nick, I think.
Yeah, and I think there was less diagonals, because it does, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Evans, and you look at his stats, they're as good as anyone else in the division, if not better. But it can slow us down a little bit at times. And obviously, with him not being there, we did seem to shift it a lot quicker. I think we've got to factor in that Exeter weren't brilliant as well, you know, and you maybe don't get that sort of freedom, you know, week in, week out. But, you know, it's another away performance where we've done really well, and if we can try and get some of that form at home, then who knows? Because that's the sticking point in the moment, isn't it? But as probably as good a half, I think Steve Bruce said it, as good a half as he's seen us play.
Who honestly thought that we'd be waxing lyrical about the sexy attacking football with fluid technical players when we brought in Steve Bruce? I didn't.
Look at if you just look at the stats, to the right-hand side of the screen, accurate passes, Exeter 213, Blackpool 129. It's a hell of a lot less. But the key things for me there are big chances created. That's five big chances for Blackpool and an XG of 1.08 compared to their 0.2. That's very telling of, I think, the style that Bruce plays and how effective it was in that first half.
But I think we should, with 60% possession, Exeter should have won, shouldn't they? They should have been walking it.
It's just
In
a
the
problem
world
with
of
quality.
critch ball, yes. Tim.
They just didn't have the quality in both boxes, Tim. That was all it was lacking.
Maybe they weren't shifting us from side to side as
Yeah.
effective as they should have been, perhaps. Yes, as Forza says, Critchley would be very proud of the passing stats for Exeter. Absolutely. Okay, so if there ever was a game of two halves, this was possibly it. I'll switch the graphic to second half stats. What a difference. 72% for them, 28% for us. That's possession. But ironically, we had a better XG. And look at the stats for passing. 255 passes completed for them to 71 to us. And I think that's indicative of the second half, Tim. And
well, they made some changes, didn't they, second half? And I think I do sometimes think there's a bit of a dynamic that you won the game in the first half. You know, unless we're going to be stupid like we were at Cambridge, you're 3-0 away from home at half time, and we need the points, don't we? So I suppose the risk is if you carry on playing expansively, do you run the risk?
Were we that expansive though, Tim? I'll say we weren't.
What, in the first half?
Yeah, I think we were just very good on the break.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I thought we got the ball wide. We went at them again. Actually, to be fair, the commentators on Exeter were saying like this. They basically Exeter couldn't control us when we broke. Well, and sometimes it's not about possession, because a lot of that possession will have been in around the halfway line, and it's where you have it, isn't it? But it most certainly was a downhill trajectory in relation to entertainment value in the second half if you're a Blackpool fan, because they came at us, so they had a lot of possession, and we seemed, for me, I just thought we were content to sit back a little bit and take the points. Maybe
agree.
whether that was on instruction or not, I don't know, but it was chalk and cheese, wasn't it?
It was only Saturday where we were 2-0 up and then conceded 2 goals and didn't win the game.
I think that was in the back of his mind, Mitch.
I think
the half-term team talk.
I think one thing that we have shown is that we can do pretty good sort of low block brick wall defending. We are pretty good at that. You know, you think about quite a lot of games. You think about the second half at Wrexham where they poured at us. And actually, they didn't make that much because we headed it away, we threw away, we got blocks in. You know, we've got a pretty decent defensive unit now. That back four is one that you would gamble, right? Okay, you come and score 3 goals against us, and you'd put the money that they're not going to score 3 goals against us. And I think it wasn't so much that in the first half we were expansive per se. But I think we committed people to every break. I think in the second half, when we got a chance to break, we just didn't commit as many players forward. That one of Carey and Morgan would sit in instead of both of them galloping forward and giving an option. You know, one of the fullbacks would hold back instead of going. And I think we were just more reserved about everything we did. And it worked in the sense that. Did they really create anything before they scored? Because I sat there for 25 minutes or whatever, stupidly thinking, why am I so nervous because we're winning 3-0? Like, this is ridiculous.
Remember Cambridge.
Well, yeah, but they didn't actually
that was
do
crazy
anything.
game, though, wasn't it? You could sort of see that coming a little bit. I was the same as you, Mitch. You kind of like, they've got a lot of the ball and we're maybe sat a little bit too deep, but I wasn't thinking, oh no, it's coming. We were you know, they were getting balls into the box, but we defended it well. And, you know, that's pleasing for me as well. That, like you said, Mitch, we've got a pretty decent defensive unit now as well. And I'd include the keeper in that, because if you'd have asked me 10 games ago what we needed to do in January, I think I would have probably said a new keeper's near the top of the list. But to be fair to him, and I think having a settled defence is helping, I don't feel like that anymore. I feel pretty comfortable, and it's great to see that he's gaining confidence, and you're happy to see his name on the team sheet. And yeah, you know, they had a lot of the ball, but again, you know, when you're 3-0 down at half time, your manager's going to be having a word with you at half time, and you're going to want a reaction, aren't you? Whichever team it is. So I didn't mind it. You know, I just thought maybe if we only get one decent chance in the second half, you know, that's fine as long as we're defending well. Like Tim said, we don't want to go too crazy, because you saw what happened at Cambridge, and I didn't really mind a relatively boring second half compared to the excitement of the first half. And you know, we defended well. Baggett's come in. I thought he was great. Casey was great. I thought all of the back four did the job really well, and that's the other side of the game. It's not always about, you know, the attacking side. We defended well, so that was pleasing to see as well.
Tim, Exeter have finally breached the Blackpool hull 8 minutes from the end. Very well taken goal from Exeter, but perhaps too little, too late.
Yeah, I think if it had come 15 minutes earlier, and David's mentioned about them hitting the post slightly, I think that was before the goal, wasn't it? You know, if that had been onside and gone in, and then they got that one, it's 3-2, then you're incredibly nervous, aren't you? But I wasn't worried, really. I just thought that, you know, again, it comes back to the comments the others have made. You know, I mean, Casey is an exceptional defender. He seems to have become more and more confident and more commanding. He's at the top of his game at the moment. I don't think any of us have seen him play as well so consistently. And I think, you know, it's unfortunate about Penno, but I think Bagot's probably slightly a better player. And I think once he gets a few games under his belt, I think we'll really see the benefit of that partnership. And then you've got Fire on the right, who's just, you know, incredible, I thought, particularly in that first half. But, you know, he defends well and he attacks well. And Hubby I thought Hubby had a good game as well. So, you know, you've got a real solid unit there, I think, as the others have said. So I was, for once, and I'm normally somewhat of a pessimist, as everybody knows, for once I wasn't concerned. But going back, I think that the more I think about it, with my earlier comment about them not, you know, seeing the games won, that Huddersfield, that would have haunted Bruce, wouldn't it? And I bet he probably said, go out and just keep it really tight and don't make any you know, any silly decisions, and do sit behind the ball, and let's just not have a repeat of that. And then as the game goes on, maybe it just morphs into a continuation of that. I don't know. But
I mean, we're so difficult to please, aren't we? Because if we 3-0 up at half time and we draw that, or God forbid lose it, we would be wiping the floor with them about their I hate the phrase, but their atrocious game management. And actually, they've gone out and managed that game. You know, Exeter have essentially had one shot on target that they've scored from in the second half. And we've got the 3 points, comfortable victory, gone home, great game management. We're all good. Well, it was boring. They didn't attack enough. We wanted more goals. I mean, you know, I loved Keogh's philosophy. I loved that Cambridge game, even though he came back. But that Cambridge game had the fan base in apoplectic that we'd thrown that away, you know, because we went for the 5th, we went for the 6th, and I think you bang on, Tim. I think Bruce would have just gone, don't you dare come back here having done silly things, trying to score a 4th goal and end up conceding a goal. You know, if there's one on, great, go for it, but don't you dare take any risks.
I'm sure that's exactly what he said in the changing room. Don't be doing those silly things, boys. Bison's a hard man to please. I wouldn't get too carried away with this result. Good teams don't produce stats like that in the second half. He's taken the alternative viewpoint, Mitch. How do you respond to that?
No, well, look, there's some truth in that, and at the end of the day, when I had my Twitter meltdown about the ridiculous point of Steve Bruce and how this club has, just taken a dive into the, I don't know, the gutter of desperate washed up appointments or something, it was Mr. Bison's that counselled me that sleep on it. It might actually work out better than you think. So, give him his credit there. I mean, I think there's some truth in the sense that what we had was a performance where we played really, really, really well, whilst Exeter had sort of set up in a way that played into our hands. They set up kind of quite open. Our midfield could go through the middle. We could play around them. They made some changes. They brought a big lad on, didn't they, at half time to sit on Fletcher, and we struggled then. And we do off the bench perhaps lack the ability to then change it up again. I mean, there's some truth in that, but and then on the other hand, the stats aren't that bad. We actually had better XG than them, so
And the main stat is we won the game 3-1. So I will unhide that comment, Bisons.
I've got to mention, John, what did you think about the penalty that wasn't?
Just about to mention this. Watching it live from the angle that we were all watching from, Stonewall Pen, I held my breath as a fire bundled into their lad. I thought, I was just waiting for the ref to put his whistle into his lips and blow. However, I have been on the Exeter Football Club official YouTube channel. They did this excellent vlog-style video pre-match, during the match, and the pitch side camera angle that we use sometimes. And they've got the angle from the other side of the pitch, and it just looks like two shoulders coming together from that angle, and their lads just had the slightest of contact and gone to ground. And I think the momentum of Afaya's taken his body over his, and I think it looked a lot worse than it was on the initial live stream. I don't know what anyone else thought, but we'd been raging about that, I think.
I think it's one of those, isn't it? When I first saw it, I kind of had a bit of a deep intake of breath and thought, is he going to point to the spot? And I think a lot of refs on that, that they only get that one view of it, may have given it. It'll be interesting to see that other angle, because I was having a look on a view from the town. There was quite a few people saying he just kind of gets in front of him a bit and then sort of puts his legs together and sees the contact. He does make the most of it. And I mean, the ref had a decent view of it, to be fair. So we'll take it because, if he'd given it, then it could have been a very nervy finish then, couldn't it?
It was one of them that you could imagine on their Premier League, them going to VAR and then going over and over and over and over, and there being some kind of absurd debate around, well, he places his heel goes down there and that foot goes down first. So I watched Ron replay and thought, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I hate all that, and just went, I think, I was glad we got away with it. And I think had I been an Exeter fan, I would have probably been screaming blue murder about it not being given on the spot. But as for what it actually was, I don't know.
Tim, they do say these things even themselves out over the course of a season. We've had that stinker of a decision penalty away at Wrexham, so perhaps it's... I
mean, I think can't really add too much more other than I would have been fuming if I'd been an Exeter fan, and I was very relieved as a Blackpool fan. And I think, based on what I'm hearing, I'm going to look at that footage afterwards, John. But there's a few people who've seen different angles, and I think probably if you're looking down the pitch the way we were doing with the original angle, it does look, it's probably the worst view and the most compelling view from the point of view of a penalty, where the other angles perhaps are a little bit different. So well done, ref. You've done a great advantage in the first half, and you've managed to save a rather nervy end for us in the second half.
He did He did let a lot go throughout the game. He sort of was very much on the let it flow side of things. And it got quite absurd towards the end, man. It was kind of like everyone was kicking each other up in the air, and he just kind of going, carry on. Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's a couple of tackles, weren't there, where you're going, that's foul, that's a foul. I think the ref was just like, well, I've not given that one. I can't give that one. And it was a bit. But do you know what? I think give me that on balance over a ref who makes it all about himself and the slightest, where you just like every 5 seconds there's a whistle. I'd rather see that and a bit of common sense and let play go. So, we're very quick to criticise referees. I think we've got to give him credit for Saturday.
Big up James Oldham. From Oldham. I wonder where he's from. Yeah, James Oldham, that's his name. Right. Let's do player ratings. Get the graphic up. There we go. Let's start from right to left. That's our heads, our positions. So let's start with you, Nick. You mentioned his improvement in form in Harry Tyrer. Give us a score for him.
Well, he didn't have loads to do. He made that save in the second half with his right foot, didn't he? With the shot that was drilled in. And other than that, he looked pretty comfortable, really. 8.
Mitch, you can have Jimmy.
I thought Jimbo had a good game. Really solid. He had their sub they brought on was really lively. Their right winger up against him in the second half was really lively, and he got really quite physical with him. And it got quite tasty with Jim. He threw a couple of challenges in, and I thought he had a decent game. I'm going to go 8.
He was
plus,
just solid and steady yet again. I think he's back to his best, Jimmy.
I think he's playing really well.
Yeah,
and I think he's benefiting from being a left back in a really good defensive unit and doing left back things. And his knowledge, and know-how is good. 8+. I nearly said 8.5, but then I remembered where we were.
Remember Nick's faux pas last week? Or was it the other week? That's why you weren't on last week, Nick. You were suspended for that. Incorrect.
Well, you called the North Stand the North End.
Yes.
So that is far worse than me forgetting the fielding player rating system wrong.
Do you know, I didn't remember saying it at the time, but I listened back to it on the audio pod when I was taking the dog out for a walk.
Should be
That's a 3-pod
out.
And my eyes went wide and the colour sank from my face when I heard what I'd said. So many apologies, listeners. It will not happen again. Right, Tim. Elkin Bagot, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, we're going to have to get the definitive pronunciation on this, aren't we? Because we all say Bagot or Bagot all the time, don't we? I thought. Obviously, he got 45 minutes last week, full game Saturday, and I think we're seeing the player that we saw right at the beginning of the season before he got injured and obviously missed the next 4 or 5 months. So I'm pleased he's living up to what I thought the abilities I thought he had. So solid game, big lad again. Doesn't take any prisoners and can play a bit. What's not to like? I'm going to go 8+.
Nicholas, Ollie Casey, another imperious performance. What more can we say from this season he's having?
Yeah, like Tim said, he's been brilliant, and you think, when he first came and wasn't really in the side, and he got sent out on loan, didn't he? And you wondered, is that his time with Blackpool up? And you look at it now, and he's one of the first names on the team sheet. I thought he was fantastic, cleared everything, and with whether it's Bagot or Penno alongside him. He's great week in, week out, and one of our most consistent players. So I will give him I'll go 9.
Mitch, 24 fire.
Yeah, tremendous performance. I mean, we've sort of already done the review in that, nothing got down his side pretty much. Andy was a threat going forward. I mean, the first goal evidenced that. It was just terrific. And at first, I wasn't so sure, or I don't think any of us were sure whether actually he suited the right back role. But he was terrific. So, was he the pick of the defence? Possibly. I'll go a 9 again.
The defence is great, but isn't it a bit of a concern? It's just popped into my head this that 3 out of that 5 are on loan.
Yes, it is.
Back to square one if those 3 leave, which they probably will. Not leave, just go back to the parent clubs we're about.
I suppose you've got to say that if you look at any position and you look at the backup we have, I mean, I know he's not been in particularly good form recently, but at right back, you've got Andy Lyons and Jordan Gabriel, who are 2 players who've, we rated in the Championship and would have been happy to see start for us in the Championship. But yes, it's a concern. The other ones are, Dickie O'Donnell doesn't perhaps quite.
Yeah, you've got Penno as well. He obviously, but for injury, he would, if not starting, he would have been in the squad. I think he probably would have started, but for his injury. So it does start to look a little bit healthier from the point of view of owned players when you factor those 3 in. I don't know where we're at with Lions, but I was hoping we might have seen him by now. But
and we've got Mackenzie Chapman, don't forget.
Should sign Stuart Moore.
We could. We know you'll have a reserve keeper, John.
I wonder where he is now.
Well, he was at Morecambe, wasn't he?
They were bottom of the league. They get plenty of practice anyway.
James Alden, by the way, is from Derbyshire.
Yeah, is he?
Yeah.
Be good if he was actually from Oldham. Right, we were talking about Republic of Ireland player in Andy Lyons. Tim, you can have ole, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought he's playing in his right position. He's proving to be reasonably consistent, I think, in recent weeks. I think, and Bruce clearly likes him, to the point of playing him up front, rather bizarrely, as we spoke about last week. First goal, classic CJ. He's always going to be a menace. Obviously, you're always worried he's not going to hit the target. But to be fair to him, I think in those situations,
it was a sublime finish, Tim. It was a sublime finish.
I'm more than happy with the way he's been playing in recent weeks in this sort of formation that we're working with now. So I think 8.
8+ was in my head. So.
Yeah. Well, I'll upgrade it if you really want me to, but 8 was in my head.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you're sure. Yeah. Nick, on to Sonny Carey in the middle. Raised a couple of eyebrows. Obviously, no Evans, but Sonny's played the full 90 minutes, and I think he did make a big difference in that first half, adding more dynamism, as Mr. Mitch said.
But it would be remiss of me not to hand this over to Mitch, as Sonny is his favourite player, and he will be able to wax lyrical about him. So I'll take Morgan, and then we'll give Sonny to Mitch. So I think Morgan had a great game, as Mitch mentioned earlier. The ball out for the first goal was superb, and he had a great game in the middle. So I'll give Morgan an 8+.
Just before you go on about Sonny, Mitch. Nick, I think you should increase the score to 9-. Did anyone see Morgan's mock?
He's attempted backflip. Yeah, I forgot about that. That is a fair point. That's worth half. That is worth half. He kind of did a little. It was so funny. Yeah,
he didn't attempt to do the backflip. It was a kind of a piss take, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But it was funny. Yeah, it was funny.
So he didn't do it and then sort of back out as he realised he couldn't. But
he just did a little kind of side jump.
I love Albie. He's a cheeky chappy.
He is, isn't he?
Great.
With the other open mouth celebration as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant player as well, though. Not just a
he's top. I mean, I think Morgan has been Nick, sorry, John Morgan, but I think Morgan he's just been a lot more consistent this year. Sort of last year, he'd have a game where you thought, wow, this guy's great. The next game, he'd spray it all over the place, and he's just really seems to knuckle down. And I think he's another one where you look at him like Casey and Bloxham and stuff. You think, well, keep doing what you're doing, and there's an asset there, a real asset. Sonny, okay, yeah. I mean, I thought he did absolutely nothing wrong in the game, and that was probably the thing I was most pleased at. He definitely, I've already said the point about him being mobile, driving forward, and I think what I was most pleased at, that he got through 90 minutes in a 4-4-2, contributed to a victory, played his part. I don't think he was, the most outstanding player on the pitch by a long shot, but even I, as a sort of almost stubbornly committed fan of Sonny, was a little bit trepidatious at him starting in this game, and I was thinking, oh fucking hell, if it goes wrong, everyone's going to be on his back. And he played well. I'm going to go 7+ for him, because I thought that was a really important 90 minutes for him that he can build on, and that he can take a lot out of playing that role. 7+.
And join the 100 club for Blackpool. In the week, didn't he?
Which is something, I mean, I've banged on about this in other places, but it's something where, I know he splits opinions, but the lad came from Kings Lynn. I don't know if you've seen his dad's post on Twitter about him getting released, his heart being broken by Norwich when he's 15. He's then gone to Wroxham Town. I mean, has anybody even ever heard of Wroxham? Ended up at Kings Lynn. He's missed out on, sort of, compared to the rest of the squad, 3 years of professional training, sort of playing semi-pro football, sort of. He's come into us, and how many players have come into us from non-league and done absolutely nothing? Have come straight in and back out the door, straight in, 3-4 disastrous performances. And I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, and I do get some of the points about his weaknesses, but I like him as a player. I always have done. I like him. I like his potential. I like the way he plays. But to play 100 games, that is a real achievement, coming in from Kings Lynn, and he's cost us absolutely nothing, pretty much. He'll have been on peanuts when he came in. He'd have been on pence compared to the first team players. And, good lad. Well done.
Very nice lad as well. He was our Tangerine teammate down at Polton FC 2 or 3 years ago. I met him and Brett Geraghty, Tim, in the car park. Me and Eddie were just there kicking around, and Brett Geraghty actually saw Eddie in a Blackpool shirt, and he came over. He just said, "Do you want to meet Sonny?" And he's a really top guy, Sonny. Yeah, Brett Geraghty saying we've got an absolute diamond here. He was really pleased with him. So yeah, it's a nice experience. Right, Rob up to Tim. 1 assist, racking up the assists and goals, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I think he put, obviously, I don't think it was one of his best performances, but he's got an element of consistency for me, which I like. I think Mitch spoke before about the amount of game time he's had this year, which is probably far more than perhaps is really good for him. I think probably he could do with a few rests here and there, but he's stepped up to the plate and he's been one of our most consistent performers. So I think he was slightly outshone by a couple of other players on Saturday. But he in other games he's been our best player, and I think he's probably a 7+. I think he's up similar to Carey, I think, on Saturday. So good score still.
Can I just say on him, I think what he's doing a little bit more now is he's playing a role. Because when he first came into the team, he sort of picked it up, dribbled inside, shot, and was losing the ball quite a lot. Whereas on Saturday, he was quieter, but he was just doing the simple stuff sometimes in a way that he wouldn't necessarily have done earlier in the season, which I think that's really encouraging.
Okay, Nick, Ash Fletcher amongst the goals. Again, how do you think he played, obviously with his goal?
With his goal, fantastic. He took it really well. Again, he's neat and tidy outside of the box. Involved in build up. Mentioned before, I wish there was a bit more maybe belief or commitment at times in the box. Those 2 chances he had in the first half, particularly the second one. But to give him credit, he's, considering he might be a little bit low on confidence, he certainly didn't show when he took his goal, and it wasn't an easy finish, and he made it look easy. So fair play to him. I will say, what will I say? Overall,
I think 7 plus 8 minus. I'm in that ball.
Yeah, I would say 7 plus.
Okay, Mitch, you've got the main man, Tom Bloxon. What a debut away performance!
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I've just stood up there. Really,
Is that good?
I just randomly stood up. Stood up with Tom Bloxon.
Were you thinking about the goal? You couldn't contain yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for any more, can you? What more can you ask from a player? And bear in mind, there's some debate about whether he actually even is playing in his best position.
Well, he isn't. He isn't. That's coming from his agent's mouth.
Statistically
speaking, right wing.
Statistically speaking, John, according to his positional ratings on who scored, actually he is playing for his best.
You know when I said, can we have some Mitch stat attacks?
Yeah. Well,
forget that.
Yeah. No, I thought Bloxham was tremendous. Wonderful goal. I mean, he was the player at the post as well, if I remember correctly, early on, sort of from the left as well, and sort of cut inside, picked the ball on the left, hit the post, set up the goal. What have we given a Fire and Casey 9?
It's got to be a 9 plus minimum. Minimum 9 plus.
What more do you want from a player than that? I don't know. Can't think really what more a player could do apart from score more goals and away from home. Oh,
goal and assist and just terrorised
the post. Played really well. 10. Do I go for it? Yeah, 10.
Yeah, no argument from me. Come on, Alan. Just one negative on the blocks is his heading needs some coaching from C.
Interestingly, I did actually have a little look at his career heading stats, and I would agree with Alan. For a big lad, he doesn't win all that many aerial duels, which possibly will take us on to our what we need for the rest of the season topic.
Okay, what do we need for the next what was it, half of the season, Mitch? Take it away.
Well, I just had a little look at this, which was, what are our strengths and weaknesses? And our strengths very much going forward are dribbling. We've got the two of the top 7 dribblers in the league, I think it is. Apter and Bloxham are right up there. Our passing is decent. Our incisive passing is very good. Morgan is decent, but Evans is outstanding at passes that create chances or key passes or whatever metric you want to call it. Our crossing isn't terrible. Our crossing's decent enough. We get shots on goal, but we don't score. We don't score enough goals compared to the situations we create, which would suggest we need a finisher. That's obvious. Everybody needs a finisher. And we're pretty weak aerially as a team. So as a team, we are, most of our stats as a team are sort of between about 5th and 8th when you break it down. But heading, we're something like 15th or 16th in terms of aerial duels won. And Joseph was by far our most effective striker in the air or forward player in the air. And now he's gone. That was why I'd looked at Bloxham's stats. Fletcher doesn't win that many for a big lad. He's winning less than 2 headers a game. Bloxham over his career averages sort of about 1.2 headers a game. And that's it's an interesting question about what sort of forward do we need.
We all know what road this is leading towards, Mitch, with all this header stats and lack of heading ability. Yeah. Come on. Which garden path is this going down? Where does it end?
The stats don't lie. The stats don't lie. I'm not going towards former Millwall. Was it Chris Martin? He was good at heading. No. Yeah, get gas back, obviously. Oh dear.
Get Gaz back. Get him
He's
back.
probably somewhere. He's probably got someone watching this. He's rung him up, going, "He's still fucking going on about you." And he's gone, "For fuck's sake, I'm gonna have to." I thought I could get rid of the protection. But in all seriousness, we are up front lacking in
Gaz's.
some kind of finishing, and we're not very good in the air, and that could be part of it. You know, I don't know whether we need a target man, or I don't know whether we need that fox in the box, or I don't know whether we need both, but we need something in there, don't we?
Tim, Nick, penny for your thoughts.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if there's still the shout. I know there's in the chat people have been saying they don't think there'll be any business done this year, but I won't be surprised if somebody comes in, whether it's going to be that finisher. What we really could do is someone like Rhodes from a year ago, or going right back, someone like somebody can get their head on the end of some of these crosses that come in, sort of Bamba style or Medine style, as we've spoken about. So I think there's one more to come in, and I can't imagine it's going to be anywhere else other than centre forward.
Nick?
Yeah, I'd echo what the guys have said. I think you could argue we needed one even while Carl Joseph was still here. And obviously we've got Bloxham, but he was potentially brought in, I think, to play wide maybe rather than as an out-and-out striker. So, and I think as well, I agree with Tim that I know Bruce has sort of said, and I get it, he's not just going to spend money for the sake of it, and he's got to be the right player. But he's a wily old fox and plenty of contacts, and I think we will get someone in up front. And then beyond that, I suppose, with Norburn going, if as we saw on Saturday, Carey came in for Evans, but I still think maybe central midfielder as well is possibly a priority. Whether that's going to be January or in the summer, we'll see. But if it was two players, I'd say a centre mid and a striker.
I agree on the midfielder, and I think that I read in the Gazette, I think it was, that he said that Finnegan can go on loan if he gets an opportunity. And I think then it's getting a bit dicey relying on, Carey, as I say, splits opinions. I think Carey would do very well in particular games, Exeter football inside, play the footballers. You're not going to play a football inside every week. And if Carey's going to play, Carey's going to have somebody to let him play. And I think Onoma is a good player, but I just would not see him week in, week out being a starter. I just don't think we can trust his fitness, and I'd be pretty sceptical about getting through to the end of the season with Evans and Morgan backed up only by Sonny and Onoma.
Yeah.
Okay, we forgot to do man of the match. David's just reminded me very quickly. Then round the room, Tom Bloxham for me. There you go, Nick.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, but I think there's the shout outs to quite a few other players as well. I thought defensively we were great. A fire as well when you think he had a bit of a tough time against Huddersfield, but he was great on Saturday. But yeah, you've got to give it Bloxham.
Mitch?
Yeah, I agree. I'd go Bloxham.
Timothy?
Full house, but a fire for me was that far away from it.
Okay, two more items just before we head off. Sorry, Nick, we're over an hour. 1:04. So we'll motor on.
So okay.
Put that
just a couple of quick
away.
ones. So
Put the pins in.
The club have announced it's a football forum to be precise, and it mentions football several times in the article. And I think they're basically saying, don't only be coming and start kicking off about the training ground and the East Stand. It's football-related matters. Monday, the 24th of February, open to season ticket holders. I think there's an email address that you apply to register your interest. Steve Bruce will be there, David Downs and Kieran Donnelly. So, yeah, all about the football side of things. And then the other bit of news.
So go on, Nick. I was going to say football brackets, not ticket prices underlined.
Well, yeah, basically all of the things that people like to moan about is what we will not be discussing. But fair play, the club do get criticised for not doing stuff. So,
are we all going to go? I've not been to one of these for ages, so I'm going to.
I think it depends. I would imagine it'll be a ballot, won't it? You'll register your interest, and there'll be and it's not going to be live streamed, but there will be highlights on Tangerine TV. So
I think anybody, I'd encourage anybody to go, because I've been up. I did went to a Christmas event, like a business club thing, and Bruce spoke there, and I've heard him speak up in the lounge another time as well. And he's incredibly good value for money. Just listening to him, I mean, makes you realise what a tremendous career he had, and his knowledge pool must be like virtually second to none. So listen, if you get the opportunity, I think I might put my name down for this one. I probably wouldn't have done normally because I've heard him before, but I think it's important to hear what he's got to say, and I'm going to give it a go, I think, and hopefully we all get there, eh?
I was doing a little mental exercise the other day where I was thinking about Bruce's reputation in English football. And I was thinking about current active English managers and where they would rank if you had to put them in a list according to sort of their reputation, their achievements, their standing in the game. And I tell you what, I wasn't coming out with that many figures ahead of Bruce once you get rid of all the non-English managers. And I thought, that's mad that we've got him.
Yeah. And it's when you hear him speak, it really brings it home. Massively brings it home.
It's a bit more of a draw.
John Haley's asked in the chat, you have part of a fans group. 100% not. It's just season to get hold of ballots, isn't it? So.
Yeah, you register your interest, and obviously it'll be limited in terms of numbers. So we will see. A couple of things just quickly. There's the Mickey Walsh tribute night on the 31st of January coming up. So 50 years since that wonder goal that he scored. So that's in the Stanley Matthews Lounge. Those of a certain vintage, yes. And then lastly, the Burton game, which was rescheduled for Sky on Thursday, when was it? 6th of Feb, has been unscheduled or rescheduled back to the Saturday at 3:00. It's no longer on Sky due to there being other sporting events that are now. I can't imagine what's more important than Burton Blackpool on a Thursday night. I've no idea what it is that's taken its place. But we're back to the Saturday, which
happy
I
days.
suppose obviously for most people makes it easier if they were going to go. But then there will be a couple of people mentioned in the podcast group that they'd arranged days off and travel and stuff for the Thursday. So it's a bit of a weird one for it to be. Like I say, rescheduled back to the Saturday.
More notice to changing games, weren't they? Didn't they sort of give some form of commitment that they wouldn't change fixtures once they were fixed to stop this type of thing happening?
Yeah, but it's the Lithuanian water polo semi-final on Sky Sports 2, so they've got to move it. Come on.
So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. But Alan's mentioned, going back to the Mickey Walsh event, that he will be there on Saturday in hospitality as well. So
might be up there
to meet.
I'm not turning into hospitality hall, but with my leg, it's getting up them steps of the door. So I might see if somebody can sneak me in on a table. I'll listen to Mickey. Will be the icing on the cake.
You could just sit in row A of the North, Tim.
I could. Do you want to give Tom Vickery a quick? Do you want to give Tom Vickery a quick shout out? He's I've retweeted this. I don't know if any of you have, but he's raffling Ollie Casey's shirt for the Adam Stansfield Foundation, and obviously Adam Stansfield was a footballer at Exeter who died young. I think it was cancer, wasn't it? Just basically raising money for that that cause for research and all of that. So it's a good thing. He's doing a football card where I can't remember if it's a £5 or a £10, and you buy a team and then they draw the foot. I think we all know how the football card works. They draw a team and you win some money, and the Adam Stansfield Foundation. Sorry, you don't win some money. You win the shirt, and the Adam Stansfield Foundation gets the money. So it's a good cause.
Tom,
Absolutely.
do tag at Seasiders Pod, and we'll retweet that for you. Let's get rid of that. Okay, just finally before we go, Lincoln City away tomorrow night, gentlemen. A tough game. I think they've beaten Peterborough. Let's get the graph.
5-0.
5-1.
5-1.
5-1.
Peterborough are weirdly awful.
I know, yeah. I can't believe
God.
how they've dropped. They were the best team we've seen this season.
Yeah, they're really good.
How are we feeling about this one? Some insights there. One that's just not crossed any of our minds. We haven't lost in 5. That was our first win in 7, the first win of the calendar year. And we deserve so much more, don't we?
Mm. And when you think that the one we lost was the Wrexham one, which we shouldn't have lost. We're starting to be consistent in not losing, aren't we? We just need to try and turn, particularly at home, turn some of these draws and losses into wins, because I think we've got 5 games in Feb, haven't we? So this is a tough away game tomorrow night, and then but we seem to be at our best away from home. So who knows?
I think our away form is better than our home.
We won 6 away from home. We've only won 2 at home, I think, haven't we?
By a long shot. Yeah. So Lincoln,
We might play more away than at home, but
I mean, looking at the table, we're 2 games less played than Lincoln and 4 points behind. Realistically, it's a game we really need to be winning if we want to be having a late run towards the playoffs. Another mid-table side that we could gain ground on.
Yeah, it won't be easy. But like Tim said, you're probably more confident about our away form than our home form when you think, when it was the last time we won at home. So it'll be tough, and there's a bit of me that says I'd probably take a point now, but like you say, we could do with 3 if we're going to have any chance of pushing on and having a run at it. We'll be confident after Saturday, so I'm going to be confident and say we'll win 1-0.
I think it'll come down to, I think there could be a bit of fatigue. I think it'll come down to if we can score early. And I think we, I don't know, we're capable of going and scoring a couple early on and then riding the storm. I think it will be a tough game, but I think I'm a little bit concerned about the strength of the midfield we've got available, and how easy it is to change that up, whether or not these 2 start, if there's enough on the bench, and so on and so forth. But I think if we can get a couple of goals first half, we can do it. I'll go for 2-1 to us.
Tim, normally the harbinger of doom on the match predictions, just to temper the positivity, I'm afraid, gentlemen. We've travelled to Exeter all the way there on Saturday. Now we've got to go all the way down to Lincoln Tuesday night. 2 big coach journeys that could potentially affect things. Tim, Steve Bruce wasn't happy about these 2 fixtures in the post-match from Exeter, and he's got every right to be annoyed, really. So
they do throw out some strange ones sometimes. I mean, Lincoln, what is it? I mean, you can do it in 3.5 hours, can't you? So I don't know. I don't know whether it's not Exeter by any stretch of the imagination.
What about a Porsche Tascam EV? How quick can that do it in?
Depends how much charging stock you have to have. And whether you can find a charger that works. So going back to my prediction, I'm torn because every time I predict us to win a game, we don't, and every time I predict us to lose a game, we do. So
we're 3-1 to win, 3.5 to 1 the draw, 2.5 to 1 Lincoln home win. 3-1 Blackpool seems like a good bet in my eyes.
It does, and I might have a little tickle. I'm actually going to be. I'm going to not be negative. I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win.
Whoa!
Wow, unprecedented Tim Fielding away win.
Well, we're absolutely screwed, aren't we?
We are.
We're going to lose 2-0 then. So that's my prediction.
Yeah.
It'll be the opposite of what I said.
No, I think we're going to draw 1-1, but I'll say 2-0 just for the lols. Okay, I think we'll call it a day there. Nick, we're on 1 hour 15, I'm afraid. So hope that meets with yours.
It's all been positive, so I'll allow you to go over an hour.
When it's a win, it's always a lot easier, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
So thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Really good panel this evening, reflected in record viewers. I was just typing to Tim and the guys. I think it's 476. That's our biggest ever live audience. So thanks as ever to your contributions. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Help make the show much better. And all there is to be said is thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading. Come on the pool at Lincoln. Let's beat those imps.
Pool.
Been involved in 2. Can he make 3? Not on this occasion. Well taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try.